I'm calling from Los Angeles, and I'm having a little problem. Under the name ThatUmbrellaGuy, I sent him my phone number at least 20 times in the chat and told him to call me. He ignored me. I'm a man. I filed the report. If you guys could take a look at it and give me a call back, I would love to hear what you guys can do to help us. We really need to kind of stop this guy at least until Monday. I told him to call me. I'm a man.
And I really want it back. I don't want to feel like I might be a sociopath. I deleted my heart. I was young and impulsive, and I would download another, but I'm afraid it wouldn't fit. I deleted my heart. 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 I deleted my heart.
We love that umbrella guy. All right. Thank you. Damn, that was... Under my umbrella.
Hey there, to all you wonderful people. Welcome to a new day, a bunch of new crazy. Man, let's change that avatar. Let's go pickle time today, baby, because nothing like delivering some fresh pickle goodness. I swear, like this story. So the Dan Wooten story just gets crazier and crazier. In fact, I've been looking into some of the allegations there, and some of the allegations actually were missed. There's some crazy ones, like absolutely crazy ones. Let's just say playground enthusiast type of allegations, the 15 or so year old variety. And again, as I'm saying, only allegations, just making that very clear. But yeah, I mean, this is the kind of stuff. These are object lessons. The object lesson here is when you back the very thing that destroys lives, when you create the social freaking movement with it, expect it to try to run you over sometime. Let's look at Dan Wooten's, let's look at the fundraiser first before we go anywhere. I want to see how far it's gone today. I haven't checked it. It's actually still pulled up on my thing. So there's actually a new article out. There are investigation articles. Guess what? We know who the law firm is that's looking into him too. So we're going to look at them too as well. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of fascinating to see where all of this is going. Now, I'm curious, and I'd like to see people do even more digging to understand the connection between the law firm itself and the son or the Daily Mail, how their connection actually raises into that. But yeah, let's introduce it all. So again, if you haven't kept up with this story, just very briefly, Dan Wooten, that is the guy that in 2018 he led to the UK trial, JD versus AH. He's been involved in other allegations, just allegation alone, no substantiation to that. He just decided to really throw in with that. Well, he has been accused of some pretty heinous stuff. Now, again, accusations, they are what they are. They're words. But Dan Wooten is one of those people that believed if you want to go after somebody and you want to destroy their lives, well, weaponizing a certain hashtag movement and doing more, yeah, that actually worked out very well. Now, it hasn't worked out for him for the last few weeks, though, as a place called Byline Times has been dropping. They dropped a 3-part expose. They dropped another article today, and they're supposed to have another expose article tomorrow. So we'll see how that is. And again, some of the things I've been trying to get to the bottom of what all the allegations are, if there is indeed evidence. Some people that I actually here's the fascinating thing. And again, my eyes have to meet it before I feel comfortable saying yes, 100%. But there have been some voices out there that are pretty much, they value, let's say, their reputations. They say, yeah, metadata and other things were turned over with a 28-page dossier. So as far as allegations, they're saying, yeah, there was other stuff turned over too. Now, I haven't seen it. So until I see it, that it is what it is. You can, as we've learned before, you can turn over anything. You can fake items. I mean, there's all kinds of craziness, but there is indeed some insanity happening. And there's one of a few scenarios. Either Dan is guilty, Dan is being falsely accused, or there's a lot of guilt and they're just all muddying each other up. I mean, that's we don't really know what we've stepped into. Dan has had an about face in the last few days. And again, I'm just giving you a rehash. There is new stuff. I'm not just rehashing this story, but I do want to add, every time I find it fascinating that people take stances like this every single time that they get accused. They go from canceling other people with listen and believe to saying that this is wrong. We must fight back against the current state of social media where any allegation can be made in an attempt to get someone, of course he adds on the right, but let's just say someone, canceled, and it's impossible to defend yourself. This is even the case when they have claimed that I've engaged in criminal activity when I've never been arrested, interviewed, or charged in respect of any allegation against me. Our rush to judge before due process, thanks to coordinated dark forces and online pylons, is destroying democracy. I will not allow myself to be canceled based on lies and will vigorously fight to defend myself. Again, it's amazing how songbirds sing a different tune. So Dan Wooten's money thing has only moved 1% since yesterday. I know that because I commented on it being at 24%. I was like, well, it's almost there. And today it's at 25%. So, as far as money, it is moving, but it is moving very slowly currently. And I mean, he's wanting 150,000 pounds. He moved up there pretty quickly. Byline Times actually raised quite a bit of money for themselves, too, to continue these exposés. But one of the things, so there are a few new chapters here. All right. One of the things that I want to throw in with this, first of all, I want to throw in the statement. So the Sun and the BBC. All right. So let's hit a couple of articles. Then we'll talk about the police investigating, and then We'll look at a brand new article, and I'm hoping to hit all the Aquaman stuff too. There's so much. I mean, there's a lot going on. This is a big story too, and there's not a lot of coverage. There's coverage to a point, but you'll notice the coverage is quite favorable compared to other coverage. It's more it has more standard and principle. Considering the places that are covering them are pretty much reckless tabloids all the other times, it's fascinating to see when one of their own gets accused. Oh, they start having journalistic standards and integrity. It's very, very strange how that works, isn't it? I think it's because they're afraid they'll get accused too. What's up, Fallen Hero? Thanks, 5. Just got off work, waiting for a bus. Looks like it's going to storm. Hope I don't get caught in it. Stay dry, my friend. Stay dry. Wish the rain away. You know what? Just remember, you can always hold your phone above your head because I'm an umbrella. No, actually, don't do that. He told me to, and it ruined my phone. No. That'd be so terrible. It was like I held an umbrella guy above my head. Why didn't it work? Love to you, my friend, by the way. So you can see, places, a lot of places are covering, like Deadline, huge simp. And of course, they'd be all over Dan Wooten, yeah, we cover this stuff. Remember that this is part of Penske Media too. We've talked about the Penske Media trifecta that we've seen, the Rolling Stone, Deadline, etc. Yeah, that's part of that wonderful. There were 3, main culprits that we've seen pop up. There are more companies for sure, but yeah. So BBC and The Sun investigations into Hugh Edwards and Dan Wooten, questioned by UK's Culture, Media and Sports Committee. That's fascinating. So you have the UK's influential Culture, Media and Sport Committee have written to both BBC and The Sun over investigations into Hugh Edwards and Dan Wooten. Carolyn, wrote the BBC's acting chair yesterday, saying that the committee is keen to see that the BBC conducts its 2 wider reviews in a transparent manner following the Edwards scandal. Now that's fascinating. Like I said, you have oversight committees that are sounding off, and they're saying, "Yo, we want transparency in this process." Why? Because nobody trusts any of these companies that are involved. I think that's fascinating. So you have the investigations that are launched. Again, I'll show you the places that are looking into it. Then you have other places. They're saying, what's going on here? And yeah, so the BBC launched 2 reviews since the accusations against Edwards, one in which will be a fact-finding investigation and the other more detailed work on the protocol. Director General Tim Davie has already said the latter could take several months to report back, and the whatever partner has been drafted in to help. We share your concern. And again, all of this ties together. This ties together with the Dan Wooten stuff as well. Actually, let's skip down to here. So all of this is about the transparency from it, though. Actually, let's read it all. Who cares? We share your concern to respect the privacy of individuals and to give due regard to the BBC's duty of care obligations. As such, it is entirely appropriate that the BBC fact-finding investigation is a confidential process. However, we are keen that the BBC conducts its 2 wider reviews in a transparent manner. Now, those 2 things actually don't fit together. And here's one of the problems. This is a problem on the accused part. It's a problem in two ways, really. Okay, it's a problem when you're accused. Accusers are shielded by this very system, and you understand why. But at the same time, somebody hidden behind something can say pretty much what they want to say. On the other side of that, if people are hidden and what they say is hidden, then there's no transparency involved. So you can hide almost anything too. Again, 2 really bad problems in that, Let's see. What's up, Mark? Thanks for the 10, by the way. If it is true, it is almost guaranteed he set up some police and judges to protect himself. And this is not something you walk away from. You have to keep it all in check. That is true, too. Actually, there's been a lot of connection with. So we've already talked about, like, like the UK trial we saw with the son, all of the strange connections with that judge, all the impropriety that was alleged. Yeah. And I mean, it got so crazy. I mean, when you have a judge that belonged to a legal firm that is representing a defense, and you have the son of the judge actually working with one of the accused, and you just keep going down these rabbit holes. His wife hangs out, with one of the people that's actually the story's all about. I mean, again, that rabbit hole just gets really deep, and that was just 3 layers of more. So, on top of that too, again, blackmail material. Yeah, if you can find, it's not just black. Here's the thing you have to remember with blackmail material too. It's not just blackmail material on the person. It's the person that surrounds them. Like we talked about yesterday with the allegations about the person they supposedly collected videos on, somebody that was willing at first. They said they were then asked to collect pictures, allegedly collect pictures and video of a coworker of Wooten. All of that there sounds like long gaming, and that would work as blackmail for the person at the top of that pyramid. That would be the person you were really after when it comes down. And that's power. I mean, that's real power. But the BBC should tell the committee how it intends to make the outcomes of the review public. It is important that the public are reassured that the BBC is taking appropriate actions to ensure the red flagging process works effectively. The Edwards scandal rocked the media following a Sun story about the BBC presenter being who paid a young person with a crack addiction thousands of pounds for, let's just say, explicit material. After several days, which the nationwide gossip mill reached crescendo, Edwards was revealed to be the subject of an expose and is currently suffering from severe depression. After the police said they wouldn't investigate, Deadline later revealed that the BBC News journalist had been examining Edwards' conduct prior to the Sun's story, led by his colleague. So they go through, that, and then this connects. Again, here's the problem. The Sun, here's how this connects with Dan Wooten, first of all. First you have impropriety in the journalistic sphere. I hate calling these people journalists, but you have that impropriety in that sphere. And then on top of that, you have, if not direct comments, you have people that work with Dan Wooten. You have the stance of the place itself saying, hey, we need to weed these folks out. And again, just because he wasn't commenting on this specific scandal too, Dan has made himself very clear on what he thinks should happen when somebody's under investigation. Remember, these are month-long. I mean, you saw this is going to be a lengthy process here. And Dan, with a Philip Schofield, which is another investigation, he wasn't around yet. He would have come back. I guarantee you he would have come back if all this stuff wouldn't have happened. He would have been out there trying to rock this person's world too. But he had said, with the current rumors and accusations swirling around Philip Schofield, why is he still on our screens? Why have ITV not suspended him during an internal inquiry? I would think in this day and age that a mainstream broadcaster such as ITV ought to be seen doing all it can to deal with issues like this, find out where the truth lies, and in the meantime, suspend those who the rumors concern. So he's made his stance on this very clear over time. It's just not a stance on himself. So what he's essentially saying is suspend people for months and months while internal investigations go on. So then the Wooten investigation is brought up. She also turned to the Wooten case, which has lit up Twitter over the past week or so since the release of the 3-part investigation into his behavior by the Byline Times. And they say, by the way, it's not just going to be 3-part investigation. They've covered certain allegations. Oh man, if they cover the, let's just say, underage those allegations, about 15-year-olds and stuff, if they actually cover that, they better have their ducks lined up. Because I tell you, I tell you, making allegations like that. See, that right there is a career ender. Like this kind of stuff is pretty much a career ender anyway. But then when you start making allegations about playground enthusiasts, I mean, it's a little older. 15 was one of the statements that you saw publicly. If you start getting involved in that, whew, you better have that stuff right. And again, that's exactly what I said too. It's exactly that is the formula to accusation. So you can never tell what's real and what's not a lot of times. That's why, again, I make it very clear. I don't believe allegations when they're stated. I just don't. That's not the way that this works. But at the same time, Dan does. So, but it's it's commonplace to see allegations. Then you'll have allegations of, again, playground enthusiasts. That comes into play. But there are also, there are real ones that pop up too. But when you make those allegations, oh man, I mean, you're talking about people that are, I mean, Dan has to go in and become involved in litigation. Has to with this. There is no other way because again, he can claim dark forces. He can claim the leftist media, which this is his statements. He can say the leftist media, they're after him. They're trying to shut down its news network. But at the end of the day, you're not going to be able to prove that part. The part that you may be able to prove, he made allegations. I mean, he can question certain people and probably discredit. He could discredit 2 of the people, I'm sure, pretty easily. The issue that he would have is the discussion, the allegations about behind the scenes at the Sun, they were paying people off and putting them under non-disclosure agreements. That's where he would have his real problems, I think, because it's going to be hard to discredit your prior colleagues, especially if people are being paid off in the height of Me Too. What's up, Angel? Thanks, 5. I believe all about Dan. Karma is coming for him, and I'm here for it. Full circle, mofo. It is indeed. It is indeed full circle. Like I said, Dan told me before he wanted me to believe. So, I mean, yeah. Now, Gabriel, thank you. Welcome. Thank you for the membership. Welcome to Tugs Thugs. I've got a wanderer down here again. What are you doing?
I was going to look at you.
You're going to look at me?
Yeah.
Okay. You see me?
Yeah, I love you.
Oh, you love me? Well, thank you. Hey, why don't you go get me one of those bottles over there and I'll put you some drink in it. It's over by my mead mag square.
Where?
Over in front of my chair. Go look in front of my chair. There's an empty one. You can take it with you.
Empty one?
Yeah, it'll be on the floor. Do you see an empty one?
Mm-mm.
Just look around there for a minute.
Uh-uh.
Well, here, take this one then. Hey, take this one.
Well, you're nice, Dad.
Yeah, take it upstairs, though, okay?
I want yogurt, though.
Ask Sissy to get it. I can't get it right now, okay?
Mm.
Yeah, just tell Sissy. Sissy will get it for you.
Please. Put it, please.
I'll get it in a few minutes then. Hey, then give me my drink back if you're not going to. You want to take it with you? Here, you have to take it with you. Okay, go up there. I'll get it in a few minutes, okay? She wants to the microphone. Go on. I'll see you in a minute. Oh, that's hilarious. Okay, let's get back to it. Sorry about that. It's just the little one loves sneaking down here. She's really good at it. So here we go. All right. So the Byline investigation accused Wooten of posing as a fictitious showbiz agent, offering thousands of pounds. You know this. I'm not going to rehash all of that. Wooten is currently crowdfunding. Wooten used to work for the Sun. And this person asked Newton to, quote, set out what investigations are taking place into this matter. Now, according to The Guardian, both of them have been looking into said allegations. And this is where it gets interesting because one of them actually named a law firm. Now, I looked up this law firm. All right, let me pull this up here. Give me 1 second. I found them online. Now, give me 1 minute. I'm connecting to them. Just give me 1 second here. I'm connected to their website. So this is the law firm that was listed. Now I was looking through the reviews too, and man, they are a mess. But this is the place here, Kingsley Napley. I've never heard of them. When it matters most about us. So I was curious, if they have any connection to the Sun or anything else in the past, because they've they've collected enough reward. Awards are pretty much meaningless these days. I love how people tell you, yes, these awards, they all matter. Well, there's an award for everything these days. The one thing that I did notice though, there's actually, now you're going to have some mad people always that are going to review something, but this place has around 70 Google reviews, and these are the reviews. And again, if anybody is curious and bored, I would be very curious about the connection or lack thereof. Maybe there's no connection at all, but I'd like to know what other investigations they taken part in. Truth Seeker, thanks for the 4 there, by the way. Give me that coffee, thank you. And Gabriel, thanks for the 5 there. You can say PDF file without censorship, and it sounds a lot like the word you're actually wanting to say but can't. Yeah, I like playground enthusiast, because when you think about what I'm really saying there, the accusation, yeah, the PDF file, I mean, it does sound like that. But when you say that, that's pretty horrible. I think it gets it across there, because where are these people never supposed to be around? Yeah, that. Yeah, PDF file actually works very well too. You're very correct. So you see the reviews on the place, and it's kind of interesting because they have a 3.7. I was like, let's see what the lowest say. I always like to look into that. No contacting. I contacted the firm with a case. The person who answered the phone said they would get the relevant solicitor to call me back. Didn't hear anything. Solicitor has a direct line listed on the website. Called that number. No answer. So I left a voicemail. Still didn't hear back. A month later, I called them again to say I tried to get in touch. Didn't hear back. The person who answered the phone said they would get the relevant department and call me back at the same time. I emailed the solicitor. Nothing. Either this firm doesn't want my business. If that's the case, I would prefer to have the guts to say that directly, or they have a serious communication issue, and therefore, I don't think it would be smart to use them anyway. That doesn't sound good. And I'm looking at newer ones in there. Then they have the names of people that are on there. These people in employment law are some of the most dishonest legal professionals in London. Oh, no. Now, again, you're going to have these kind of reviews for people that lose to them, too. I mean, so you have to always take that in. But I found this review interesting because it said, they lie for a living, and lawyers, like any kind of integrity, only hire them if you have no moral standards. I was like, wow, that's that's exactly what we would be talking about when we're talking about working with the mainstay media. Legacy media, mainstream for you. Lack of morals, that's pretty much them in a nutshell. What's up, Steph? Hey, Tug, just wonder if I get a birthday shout out. Turn a big 4-1. Happy birthday, Steph. Everybody get Steph some love in the chat, by the way. Happy birthday to you, Steph. Yes, for sure. I hope you have a great one today, too. Had a great one. Hope it continues there. Amy, thanks for the 2 and the heart. Thank you for that, too. And Manic Malice, what's up, Manic? Thanks for the 5, Tug. You don't need to apologize for Tuglet's random drop-ins. We love the girls. Hearing the one say, "Pretty please," is heart melting. Bug is so cute. Yeah, she's a cutie. One of the things, I have a door that'll lock, but I don't know. That just seems weird to me. I'm gonna lock the kids away right now. I mean, if they wander down, they wander down. And if it's something big, then I'll go take care of it. Never returns phone calls again. And then you get into the older ones, uninterested or rude, put the phone down on me. Guy clearly honors the oath to the bar and would honor his main obligations to the court at the drop of the hat, leaving any paying client bottom of the list of his 3 main obligations. Don't trust the man, avoid at all costs. Fine. Fascinating how law firms post pro bono legal aid on their website, but when calling to inquire, you're quickly told, sorry, we don't do pro bono work. Misleading the general public. So again, you see what kind of reviews they've racked up. They've racked up quite a bit of negativity. When I look up law firms, there are positives too. Oh, these are great. Great firm. Love some of the people. And you're going to have a lot of folks that are involved in it. But I'm curious, like I said, and some of you are very, very good at finding threads. So if you find threads with other litigation, other investigations, let me know, because I'm curious about that. Now, there are a few other articles, and then I want to pull up the new Byline Times is the main place there. Now, as far as the Sun is concerned, now I found this to be interesting. The Sun, there's two cases that are happening right now, and with the Sun, the Sun was very quick to throw someone under the bus. The Sun was very happy to do 1 million articles about how JD, about how he was a monster and he was guilty. They were very happy to do that about other people as well, throwing anyone else under the bus too. Well, guess what? I guess when it comes to people in their own rank and file, yeah, it doesn't work as well like that, does it? The Sun stands by Hugh Edwards' story and is investigating Dan Wooten in Peace here. So I'm going to read that, and then we'll go to that next article with it. Get off there, damn thing. The Sun has said that it stands by its reporting on Hugh Edwards. And is continuing to investigate the former employee Dan Wooten as the tabloid faces scrutiny over its reporting standards in internet culture. Maybe I read that title wrong. Maybe they're saying we felt good about canceling him. Now, what's fascinating is if they've gone in and canceled another person, and yet they were paying off people behind the scenes. Holy crap. You talk about a field day. I want to make this very clear. If the Sun is found guilty of doing this kind of stuff, I will dance on them. I will do a freaking jig right on top of the freaking Sun. I'll be like, ooh, look at me. Look at me shuffle, baby. I mean, screw the Sun. They've been involved in... Again, they've been sued and lost before because innocent people have been tarred and feathered by these organizations. So when you look at them, it's not just about one case. It's been many cases in that. What's up, Angel? Thanks for the 2 months. Just checking in. What's up with JD apparently being found passed out? Those are those headlines. Nothing in those headlines has been proven to be true. So the headlines that came up on that actually came from some Hungarian website. So there were some canceled Hollywood vampire tour dates, and this Hungarian website starts reporting, while there are pictures of JD walking around, that they were reporting everything from he was found passed out and to he was hospitalized and all kinds of other craziness. Then the Simps started this. It feels like organized PR, and I wonder. This is my conspiracy theory on it. You can take this as you will. I think that they're not only trying to destroy in that standard as they always do, but I think this helps them deflect against the Dan Wooten stuff because is not in the headlines because Dan Wooten was one of her main freaking if everything that he says is a lie, if people are starting to scrutinize his work and say, man, this dude is a monster, then what does that say about the articles that happened back when? It's not just a commentary on listen and believe culture. If you find the guy to be a liar and a despicable piece of garbage, then maybe revisiting 2018. Now, you had a lot of places like the Daily Loud, places like that exist on Twitter. They're the same places that said that Jamie Foxx had passed away. By the way, they were forced to apologize with that, and so many other things. I mean, those have been the banner wavers saying, "Oh, this has actually happened." When again, canceled tour dates end up in strange conspiracy. No, I haven't contacted anyone to see what I could find out about it or anything, because I mean, dude got injured not too long ago. There was also statements about, okay, so one of the tour dates, they said that the stage there was not safe. Like the arena itself wasn't safe. So again, it's just there is so much crazy PR. I mean, it's nuts, because they're so desperate to realign public perception back to 2018, because the whole purpose is to counter articles, this is my opinion, to counter articles on that have any kind of negative impact. Again, if you look at all the people that have been there, you have the PR guy. I mean, he's been accused of some nasty stuff. You have Dan Wooten, nasty stuff. You have another criminal there. I've got to do that story. You don't want to hear about that, right? You want to hear about the criminal that basically was part of the huge AH comeback, right? The criminal that somehow skirted being put in jail, but was very much a criminal. I'm sure you want to hear that story, right? That's a crazy one. That was what I didn't see really any coverage on, but yeah, I pulled all that stuff up for it. Maybe I'll do that tomorrow. That sounds like a good story for tomorrow. Not a live stream. We'll do a video, and then maybe we'll start down that rabbit hole. But anyway, for today. So The Sun stands by. The editor, Victoria Newton, told NPs The Sun was a responsible media organization with strict editorial and legal frameworks. The Sun is a responsible media organization. Since when? The Sun is a nasty, nasty tabloid. They've done some of the grossest stuff possible. Oh, that's nuts. The Sun reported earlier this month that anonymous BBC News reader identified as Edwards. This is about the allegations of drug addiction, the Hugh Edwards story. She said that The Sun has been a responsible publisher that was careful with potentially identifying details. At no point have we identified the gender of the young person, which the BBC has done on more than one occasion. So they took, shots at the BBC with that. They were saying, yeah, we're better than them. Now, this talks about the chair there. The chair of the Culture Select Committee has written to, asking about that. The cites claims of inaccuracies, changing narratives, and a lack of engagement with some of the parties involved. So you see, The Sun is being taken to task on their reporting of all of that. And on top of it, you have the Wooten discussion. Again, on Wooten. On Wooten, we are investigating relative matters raised by reports by Byline Times and The Guardian last week. We take these allegations seriously, but we are in no position to comment further. And indeed, we make no commitment to make any further comment depending on the outcome of our investigation. So they're telling you, The Sun has just said, we're not ever going to comment on this. We are never going to share with the public what happened. If you look at that too, what they're telling you is if anything damaging to The Sun comes up in the Dan Wooten investigation, they're going to bury that investigation. That's exactly what that says. We make no commitment to make any further comment depending on the outcome of our investigation. Now, you think about that. If you actually exonerate the guy and you exonerate the paper and say there was no wrongdoing whatsoever, of course they're going to blast that everywhere. They're not going to just set on that because people would question and they'd be like, yeah, you know what's going on? No, they cleared themselves, right? What they're telling you is if they find something damning, if it's something that is damaging to them, they're not going to comment any further. I mean, that's loaded statements. That loaded statement, you might take it as first of, yeah, we're going to protect people. No, organizations protect self-interest. And that's exactly what I see there. So again, Wooten, you get the idea of where they stand, what they've been saying with that, and how you have let's see, there's one other article, and then we'll look at the news stuff from the Byline Times. So this last article here, this is from Press Gazette. Sun editor responds to question over Hugh Edwards reporting and Dan Wooten allegations. So it's the same thing with that. I mean, again, you have the point about all of this. The point in noting this stuff is to say this is starting to make headlines. But you notice here, okay, this is all about Hugh Edwards. Look. Here's the discussion about Hugh Edwards, what exactly the Sun had to say, everything going on with Hugh Edwards and, their statements. And then they get this little area with the Dan Wooten stuff on that. Well, yeah, we take that seriously, Since the story was reported, allegations have been made about former employee of the Sun, Dan Wooten, who has been reported as being involved in payments for certain types of material. We'd be grateful if you set out what investigations take place. I'm sure you will recognize how important to the public to have confidence in newspapers' editorial standards, not only on this particular case, but across all reporting. Now, Newton responded to that by saying, we take these allegations seriously, but we're in no position. Again, we may not ever comment. We take it seriously, but we don't take it that seriously, baby. What are you talking about? How dare you question it? What's up, Debbie? Thank you for 20 gifted memberships. Thank you for that. That is amazing. Thank you, by the way. I appreciate that for sure. I appreciate it too because everything I cover right now on this is definitely not making it past the monetization standards of this platform. And that's okay. I mean, I cover whatever. So the Byline Times, give me 1 second. I'm linking them. Just give me 1 minute. I'm seeing if they have a bunch of pop-ups in here. Actually, they don't. Byline doesn't have a bunch of pop-ups in it. That's crazy. So Byline Times actually talked about this situation as well. And again, the reason that I want to read anything that comes up from the Byline Times is because the Byline Times are the one place that has refused to back off of the Dan Wooten story. They are the one place that is like, if you gotta, let me see one other thing too. I want to let's pull up their money first too. So we talked about how much money Dan Wooten had raised as well. Let's talk about the amount of money that the Byline Times has pulled. Hey, John, thank you for the 10 gifted memberships too. That's awesome. 30 gifted memberships falling in. Thank you. Both of you. Thank you. All of you too. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you all. I mean that too. I mean that from the bottom of my keyboard. No, I mean that I very much mean that. So here's the fundraising for the Byline Times. Now, the Byline Times, again, they're the place that broke this. And immediately, Dan Wooten did the thing that he says is bad. He said, I'm going to sue. Going to sue, go to legal defense. The thing that he went after Depp again and again for, saying, oh my God, how dare he? We're just reporting the facts as we understand it. Yeah, he's trying to shut down Byline Times for the same thing. You can't have a different standard there, Dan. If it's all principle and integrity and you're just reporting allegations, and remember, Byline Times hasn't actually called for his job yet. That's the difference with Dan versus other folks. Byline, they haven't said, man, he deserves to be fired or anything. But remember, Dan, oh, that's what he did over and over. Yeah. You don't call J.K. Rowling a Hollywood hypocrite in the middle of a certain hashtag well, the amount of money that they've raised with this too has actually dwarfed Wooten. That tells you a lot of people may not like Dan Wooten. I mean, it's not just a, hey, let's go out and let's report the story. It reflects on many folks out there, places that feel like, of course, a lot of folks felt like the Byline Times was going to be pressured into trying to cave, because a lot of people have been threatened with litigation. But comparing the two, Dan he's still under 36,000 pounds, and Byline Times, they've already raised 50. So they had a shorter number, but they stretched it just because why not? I actually don't blame them for that. So their new article on this, give me 1 second here. I wanted to look at that while I was checking that out. Their new article talking about this thing. And again, there's supposed to be a brand new one coming tomorrow. So that might be really fascinating. They're just responding to what's been happening here. This is their coverage of that. Hey, what's up, Starseed Portal? Thank you. Welcome. Thank you for your membership. Welcome to Tugs Thugs, by the way. Appreciate you. Thank you. Silence from Dan Wooten's employers, Mail Online and GB News, as head of Commons DCMS committee demands answers from his former boss, the Sun, over Byline Times investigation. So this is them directly commenting on what's going on. And they're saying all of these folks are quiet. And it is fascinating to see organizations that, it's kind of like what Dan Wooten said at the very beginning when he covered the allegations. He talked about covering a story versus being a story. When you are the story, yeah. I mean, they've been put in a weird position because right away, Dan Wooten, he actually did something very smart in this. What he did is he linked his future with GB News. He said, dark forces are coming after us. It's the leftist, all of that stuff. He went through this playbook, but he talked about the network. These folks are trying to shut down the network, and they're doing that by going after all of us individually. That is actually a smart move there. Because again, it forces them publicly to either come out, make some kind of denial on the record right away, or through silence, which really your attorneys would tell you probably you don't want to make any statement. Well, that silence is taken as a head nod or agreement. Remember, these same folks have always said that silence is violence. That is another thing that the accusation crowd always notes. Silence is complicity. I don't believe that, by the way. I believe that silence means you could be getting your legal ducks in a row. You're actually trying to get evidence together, trying to figure out what's going on. But the public perception in a day and age where people expect some kind of immediate salvo, some kind of immediate answer. This is the kind of stuff that you get. So, conservative MP Dan. We've talked about that, but I want to see their coverage on it. So let's see how this goes. The chair of Commons Digital, Culture, Media, and Sports Committee has written to the editor of The Sun so it can, quote unquote, set out what investigations are taking place into its former employee, Dan Wooten, after Byline Times revealed the presenter hid behind fake online identities to trick and bribe men into revealing, let's just say, compromising material. And again, they're commenting on their own stories. That's what I find fascinating. What's up, Tug Simp? Thanks for 10. Hey, Tug and Thug, sorry to interrupt. I just wanted people to know that it's Captain Corey's funeral tomorrow, 12 o'clock noon UK time. If you can, say a prayer, light a candle, Talati's Way. Thanks. Yes, my love, respect to the family. I've not talked about that story a lot. First of all, it's a difficult story to talk about. Like again, I don't know. I have trouble talking about tragedies like that sometimes with kids. Corey was more than just some story out there. Corey was a little kid we all got to know. You know, we got to know his family. We got to see like their struggles, and you know that people are living on borrowed time, but at the same time, you hope for the best for their families. So it's a difficult story to talk about there. But my love, I mean, for real, all love, all support with them. And yeah, show your love and respect, and show it by, if you're on places like Twitter, comment in threads. Don't write to the let the family grieve. You can comment on their stuff, showing support, but let them try to find their way in a time. I don't even know how you would deal with that. They're strong people. If they need something, they have tens of thousands or more people that will back them. But yeah, for sure. That's good. I'm glad you noted that too. Give me 1 second. I'm realigning this. So as far as Dan Wooten, however, it said, Wooten's current employers, Mail Online, GB News, have still not responded to any questions by this newspaper about whether and why he is still contracted to work for them. Now that, see right there, that's pulling in from the Dan Wooten playbook. That is the Dan Wooten playbook. Why exactly is he contracted again? I mean, if it's just the stance that people are supposed to suspend folks and more, why hasn't he been suspended? Just curious, just curious. What's up, Bessie? Thanks for the 2. Tug Simp, thank you for, yeah, for sure. And prayers with Captain Corey, for sure. Like I said, tomorrow, I don't know what UK, I'll have to switch over UK time. I don't know what time that is compared to here, but yeah, trend something positive. If people are trending something positive, like I said, love and support too. So conservative MP Dame Carolyn, whatever, what is that? Dinage, wrote to Victoria Newton, the editor of The Sun, yesterday on July 24th about its coverage of the recent BBC presenters scandal implicating Hugh Edwards and Byline Times investigations into Wooten. Our role is not to challenge individual stories or editorial decisions, they start, but we'd be grateful. Of course, we noted this, but I want to note this again. If you set out the process by which the Sun verifies any story it chooses to report, especially those where issues of privacy may be at stake. That would actually be something I would love to know too. How exactly is the Sun going in and verifying information? They've done this many a time, by the way. They've taken a quote unquote anonymous source. They're talking about the other story. So, I mean, this actually works into accusations too. How exactly do they go in and verify any of this stuff? I mean, what exactly did they do? Did you show metadata on it? Are there other items? Was there a specialist brought in? And I think that's very important. I think that is very, very important. What's up, little kitty cat? Thanks for the 4 months. No statement on that, but thank you. I don't think they have any standard on which they verify stuff, by the way. I think that they just report. I think a lot of places have gotten into the process of, and again, they're not reporting. Well, let me make the difference, a distinction in what I'm saying here. They're not reporting on allegations that are out there. They're reporting on a quote unquote anonymous source that supposedly contacted them about a story. Again, The Sun, the same paper. Again, when I talk about Dan Wooten, his complicity or culpability in cancellation of people, it's the same with The Sun. They talk about editorial standards. They don't have any. They've gone in fact, and manipulated the light and dark on pictures. They have just straight up. I'll say this: if they have a problem with them, fuck them. Yeah, fuck them. They have gone in and they have reported 100% falsity. They have manipulated photographs to make them look more damaging. They have done anything that they can to make people look like monsters, and they have been caught doing it. This has been called out multiple times. This was called out with the JD case when they would put up pictures. They would do their best to manipulate them. When you look at the actual photograph, when you look at it from the presentation, like something that goes into the courtroom, what they presented versus what was in the courtroom, there is no standard there. Their standard is a lack of. If double standards were standards, well, they would have two, right? I mean, that's pretty much the way that it goes. Given the concerns that have been reported about inaccuracies, changing narratives, and a lack of engagement with some of the parties involved in the case of Mr. Edwards, we would also be interested to understand what was done to verify this specific story and what, if any, reviews and discussions are ongoing about the Sun's procedures and reporting in this case, and any wider lessons to be learned. See, that's the other part of a story that's hitting them. There's a story about, man, maybe they got something wrong, very wrong. Did they do any type of background? Did they make sure that anything was accurate at all? Maybe not. I mean, it looks bad there. Now, in contrast to the Stun story about Edwards, which was followed up immediately. Now, this is a very important thing to know, too. The media picked this up. It's because they all collude together. They don't just sit down and look at each other's reporting. These fuckers all talk to each other behind the scenes. They very much do. But they all followed up on that directly, as they said. It was followed up immediately by major establishment media and dominated headlines for days. Mainstream publications have not extensively reported on Byline's investigation into Dan Wooten. And that is fascinating. I mean, when you look at it, and again, they're calling that double standard out. What's up, Laura? Thank you for those 5 gifted memberships, too. Man, that's crazy. Laura, John, Debbie, there have been others, Fallen Hero, always there, AJ, it's everybody. Thank you all. I appreciate you. I love seeing all the memberships too. But Dame added that since the Edwards story, allegations have been made about a former employee of the Sun, Dan Wooten, who has been reported as being involved in payments for, and they would be grateful if you could set out what investigations are taking place into that matter. So really what they're talking about here, it's a question about standards when allegations are made, period, which is a statement that should have been made many years ago. Those questions should, again, somebody comes out and they're like, hey, especially when you look at reports that are made in the breakups of relationships, that stuff gets nasty. Oftentimes it gets very nasty. And the Sun didn't do anything to make sure that their reporting on that is ever correct, ever right. I mean, and people should have questioned that, because there should be a lot of questions when places like the Washington Post, they should be under investigation for the shit they pulled. Other places should be under investigation, but there's not. That's why I keep saying, there is no justice. If you have hundreds of thousands of dollars, maybe you can get a place to court. Maybe you can undo some damages. Maybe you'll get some slight award on that. Every now and then somebody gets a large award, but most oftentimes those things are limited, by punitive damages are limited in so many different places. But most of the time, people just eat it. And there's no justice in that. None of these places ever pay for it. Very few. You've had some that stepped over even these deeply embedded, like Gawker, for example. Look what Gawker had to do to actually get taken down. Now, some of them go bankrupt over time, which is, more power to them. But most of the time, nothing. I'm sure you recognize how important it is for the public to have confidence again, not only in the particular case, but across the reporting. So Victoria Newton has already responded to the letter. According to Press Gazette, she has revealed that the Sun has appointed legal firm. Again, this is where I now I actually didn't get this from here. I got it from another place. That's where I actually found the name of the legal firm that's there. So, the lawyers are investigating. They're going in, checking that out. So there is indeed a legal firm attached there to investigate the Wooten allegations. Kingsley Nabley, which I'm just going to call them KN, which boasts of being the go-to firm for white-collar crimes, also represented Rebecca Brooks, now chief executive of the News UK and the phone hacking scandal. So the go-to firm for white-collar crime is being brought in as the go-to place to investigate. Doesn't that sound, like I said? Now, I this is a new article that just came up. I didn't even have time to look at all of that. Like I said, I wanted to look at this with you, to go through it. But when you're hiring the go-to firm for white-collar crime, yeah. Are you looking for a place to defend you? Are you looking at a place to potentially bury anything that comes up? Are you looking at a place that has represented many people against criminal allegations, that knows what to dig up? I personally have. I would think, like, if I were wanting to hide something, that would be a firm I would go to. I mean, hey, the go-to place for why? Yeah, that's the place I would want to cover up my crimes. But who knows, right? Who knows? Newton said, "We are investigating relative matters raised by reports by Byline Times and The Guardian last week." Again, The Guardian stuff. Now, The Guardian was actually quite fascinating because The Guardian, their contribution to all of this, a lot of people didn't notice that. Again, I have no respect for The Guardian at all. Just a note, I have no respect for them. So this shows you the lack of respect you should kind of have for The Guardian, because The Guardian was saying, well, we've been looking for years into that supposed alias, the alleged alias for Dan Wooten. We've been looking into it for years because we've had reports about it. Other people have brought it up, apparently. Apparently they didn't do a lot of digging, because when you start digging into the Martin Branning thing, you can find the alleged connection already. So for it to take you 3 fucking years, I mean, what's taking so long? Oh, it's because I'd love to see proof. Again, Byline Times is doing a lot of digging there, but I'd like to see what The Guardian was supposedly doing. Actually, I would love to see any of them. If you've been investigating for 3 years, why don't you show me, what was taking 3 years? How many lives did you let be sacrificed on the altar of tabloid journalism while all that was going on? I mean, again, if you have monsters in the reporting booth, are you telling me it took 3 years to stack part of that story? Took 3 years. And again, for Byline, maybe it did. Maybe, it took years. But one of the things, like the place that talked about the NDAs that were hidden behind the scenes, supposedly for the Sun, that information has come up before. So again, I would like to know what took so long. Is it trying to get around the powers that be? Is it just a weakness time? What exactly does that say? So while this newspaper has repeatedly asked representatives for Wooten to confirm or deny whether the presenter was or connected to the online entity Martin Branning, it has not received a response. Wooten denies any allegations of criminality. Now, I think this is a fascinating. Again, they have gone out. They have just point blank said, okay, well, if you're going to if you're going to note anything out here, if you're going to start making statements about dark forces and again, some giant conspiracy trying to derail you, why won't you answer this directly? And the reason I would say is because talking to lawyers, they probably told him, don't ever, make it like you're trying to nail down Jello. That's essentially like a smart lawyer would tell you that, never, if you've done something, if there's any impropriety at all, answer in broad strokes. So that does make you wonder, right? So Byline Times again contacted the Mail Online and GB News asking for a response for our investigations into Wooten and whether he's still employed by them. And if so, why he hasn't been suspended pending investigations. Now that I love as a statement because that uses his own words. That is exactly Wooten's words, He called for people to be suspended pending investigations. His exact words. So they're like, well, why hasn't he been suspended pending investigations again? I think that's funny. Again, his own standards. This is the way it needs to play, by the way. Ultimately, at the end of the day, their own words are the words that sculpted this landscape. They destroy lives. So why shouldn't they have to play by them? And of course, it's because rules for thee, but not for me. It's always that, but it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be. So neither acknowledge or respond to our questions. A source said the dance column at Mail Online has been paused and he is not happy about it. Now that I could believe too, them actually trying to pause what he's doing on that. So you did. Good job. You flush the toilet. Maybe the sun will flush the toilet. Wait, did I say that? Oh my goodness, you did. Good job. Give me 5, man.
Now I get a yogurt.
Yeah. You want to go get a yogurt real fast? Hey, I'm gonna put you on a breaker just real fast.
What was
Okay.
that? What was this?
That's something Dad's. That is my lighter. You need to leave that alone, okay?
I'm sorry. I just couldn't look at it.
That's okay. You didn't know what it was. You were just asking. You were being a good girl, weren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that you? Is that Sissy?
Is that me? She's talking about this screen right there. Is that me? Yeah, that's me as a pickle.
No,
That's Pickle Dad.
you? Where's me and you?
Me and you. That's on another picture there. I'm going to put up something just real fast, okay? And I'll be right back. I got to get somebody a yogurt. All right. So, you want to get a yogurt?
Yeah, I
Okay.
will help you.
You're going to help me.
There's dirty teeth on you.
Oh, that's not dirty teeth. That's metal teeth.
Why?
Why? Some people do that. Is that crazy?
I like metal teeth.
You like metal teeth? Oh man, are you going to get a grill?
Yeah.
You are. What would your teeth say?
It said Google got that like that.
That's craziness. You're funny.
That was it. It said Google Google.
Oh, it would say goo goo goggle.
Yeah.
All right. We'll talk about the Aquaman thing in just a second too. So you want to go get that real fast?
Are you going to help me get it?
Yes, I am going to help you get it, of course.
I got shopping lessons.
Okay, I'm going to put on the longest clip I have is
I got
Isaac
jumping
Baruch.
lessons.
That's why he always goes on. Okay, I'll be back in less
I
than
got
2
jumping
minutes.
lessons.
You got jumping lessons.
Ta-da.
Oh my goodness, you are a jumping fiend. All right, let's go. Let's do it. Here we go. Let me turn this on.
Heal and move on. And for Johnny, his family has been completely wrecked by all of this stuff, and it's not fair. It's not right what she did and what happened for so many people to get affected from this. It's insane.
And Mr. Baruch,
how this happened.
And Mr. Baruch, if in fact she's telling the truth, and if in fact Mr. Depp who has engaged in enormous rage and domestic abuse and violence of Amber over a period of time that you wouldn't know about, then maybe it's time for him to take responsibility, don't you think?
Objection, Your Honor.
What's the objection?
Speculation, lack of foundation, relevance.
Speculations.
All right, I'm back. I had to go do the dad stuff. I just that's my she wanted yogurts, so she was like, "Get me a yogurt." I was like, "All right, well, let's go get your yogurt. Get that yogurt on." All right, so here we are. Now I want to show you something that I've talked about somewhat. Give me 1 second. Stupid thing does not want to pull up very easily. 1 minute. I'm having to refresh it all because there's so much. The Guardian and everything else slows me down. So give me a minute. All right, this is what I want to cover here. So over the last week, we have had some insane disclosures about what is happening with Aquaman. And this goes with what I've been saying for a while now about the panic and so much more behind everything. Joetta, thanks for the 10. Shadow organization equals the cabal from the blacklist. Indeed. That's indeed. And Fallen Hero, thank you for that gifted membership too. Oh, man. Yeah, I've seen actually. So here's the thing that a lot of people may not realize. Did you know all of the transcripts came out for the JD versus AH trial? And while you may think, well, I saw that live, why would I need that? It has transcripts of the sidebars. And some of those sidebars are pretty funny. And they also, some of the sidebars are very revealing about some of the craziness. Like you think some of the things that Elaine said, publicly were crazy. You should see her when she's stressed out and trying to actually win a point. I mean, that stuff is nuts too. So as far as Warner Brothers, what we've learned, this is public confirmation. I've been talking about this stuff for a long time now, telling you about the problems, the panic, because ultimately what has happened with Aquaman is that you have a movie that was made under a prior regime. That movie there is a $205 million budgeted. That was the original budget that they decided on movie. So you're talking about an already ballooned movie that it's had multiple problems. Some of those problems have included the higher ups at Warner actually not being happy about this. And the funny thing is, the thing that opened the floodgates here and let us all know about it was such a seemingly insignificant item. And yet, let's see if it see if this pulled it up right. I was trying to block on that, but I don't know if it got it well. You had an interview with Patrick Wilson. And again, I covered this here, but there was a commentary at the end of all of that coverage where Patrick Wilson, he was asked, how's our buddy, the character that you play in Aquaman doing? And Patrick Wilson said, oh, he's doing awesome. I was with him last week. Now, that was a throwaway comment that no main place picked up on. But when I looked at it, I thought, wait a minute, that's a reshoot comment. He's talking about reshoots, and there were a couple of smaller places that caught on to that too. And you can see the date on this. The date was 06/28. So this is for a movie that is being made or has been finished, rather. Principal photography was finished January 2021. So it was supposed to be released, not terribly long after that. You should have already gone into your promo cycle and more, but they kept pushing it and pushing it. And then you had the merger that happened in April, the first day really of that trial. And when your merger happened, everything that was there before suddenly came into question, including, and this was very important, including the idea of what the DCEU was going to look like. You had the Warner bosses, they, from all reports, and this is reports from sourcing too. This is what I've said this for a while now. The highest authority at Warner Brothers hated this movie, and they confirm it in this. Like, I want you to think about this. You have a movie that made $1.148 billion. It is a runaway success. Then you have the follow-up come in. Now, the follow-up, you put it in the hands of, you're going to put it in the hands of the people that you feel were competent enough to make the last movie. I mean, that makes sense, right? They were competent enough to do this. They should be competent enough to follow that up and do it successfully. Yeah, no. Apparently, at one time, the film bosses that were in charge before you had James Gunn and Peter Safran take over. This is when, by the way, I mean, if you look at the timeline there, you had people talking smack to consumers. They were calling us all liars when we were talking about all the problems with the movie and stuff. They were doing secret test screenings. I mean, drink that in. They were calling people like myself a liar because I was telling you, man, they're having some real problem. They're panicked because everybody hates this movie. And it was before you had the test screenings that came up and ended up getting leaked into the public. There were other screenings. I've been hearing noise about that. Like I said, I talked about this stuff very extensively. Well, it was so bad that the film bosses at the time, that would be Pam Abney and Michael DeLuca, they got involved. Abney got so involved, in fact, that she took a creative stance and involved herself in the editing of one of the cuts. Basically, it was so bad, it was taken so badly that you had people that were not part of the editorial process. They got involved. And they were saying, maybe we can make this better because it is a trash fire. Now, unfortunately for them, they couldn't fix the issue. And, here's one of the reasons. Storyline is a mess. There are problems. You saw the flash, the visuals and stuff, but you also have this little inconvenient truth that all of them want to push under the carpet. And that's the fact that when most people know what's been happening, it was so loud in public sphere that when you push AH into the frame, that's a problem. And they don't know what to do about it. I mean, you're so late into this process. You've spent so much money. Again, this isn't something you can just shelve and write off. I mean, they could potentially. I don't think now, with the way they've gone about it, I don't think they can do the same thing that they went with what was it, Batgirl, where they just shelved the whole thing outright. They've put so much time and money. And again, this is part of a billion-dollar enterprise here, but they think that things are so bad that they have gotten involved there. Now that's bad. That is bad. But the other thing that is really, really bad here is the reshoots that they're admitting to. So they decided that they would admit to the reshoots that just happened. You can see this actually sounded off here. Gunn is said to have weighed in on the most recent cuts. They approved a 5-day reshoot. Now, these reshoots, they didn't involve, just to make this clear, you can have additions to something. You can have a background unit come in and do some special effects work or maybe try to add something. But when you bring in main characters, not only does that news start to get out, but it tells you that there is some real problem with this movie. And that's one of the reasons that The Flash ended up being such a clunker of a movie. And they kept trying to fix things. And here they are still doing it in June. Okay, to compare this to another movie. Right now, you have Wonka. Wonka is supposed to release in December. They had put out a trailer, an actual trailer for it. They had started hyping it. You saw the pictures coming out and more. That should be your process. I mean, if you're talking about a movie that is 6 months away, that's when you should be hyping up the movie. Instead, they ended up showcasing a trailer for it at a convention. A trailer where they used what is essentially, it looked like something that you would come up with a lazy, like, not a good independent film, but a lazy independent. You know, something with not a lot of budget. You think you're slick there, you know, like a college film class. They had Aquaman, some ice, some bubbles. You know, I mean, it was lazy, and it looked like the same kind of artwork that you had from years ago, because they know that this thing, it is going to tank. They keep proving it. So they discussed all of the reshoots that had been happening with this. And like I said, part of that, they started playing around with the idea of Batmans. You know, it's the same thing that, again, they were pulling with the Flash. They thought maybe they could bite people with the nostalgia bug. That would end up working out, but it didn't. And I think that has caused the movie problems too, because they were thinking, you know, one of the most talked about things with the Flash was the fact that the Flash had a flashback, as it were. I was looking for a different word, but no, we'll just go with that. It had nostalgia bait. And the nostalgia bait, there's nothing wrong with nostalgia bait, by the way, but they threw in plenty of nostalgia bait. They threw in plenty of, you know, remember this. They also, I mean, you even harken back to like Nicolas Cage Superman, which is funny, by the way. I thought that was a funny addition, but the problem here is the amount of money that's being spent. Like I said, this movie was greenlit for a $205 million budget. Additionally, on top of that, every frame, as they say, of this movie, it is involving visual effects. This has, when they talked about the original movie and the extensive amount of visual effects, I mean, this is, the package on this movie was unheard of. Well, they decided to amp it up even more. They're going to do even more. Well, when you go through and you start reshooting and you have to add in even more digital effects, that's going to balloon the cost of this movie. So how much does this movie cost right now? Who knows? Who knows? But originally, if you think about that cost, again, just doing the simple mathematics, it has error, but again, if you say you got to double your production budget, plus you got to make back all of your advertising, normally you would be talking about a movie just to break the production budget. There's a $410 million price tag for that. Then you add on advertisement. The advertisement, especially with it being controversial, you'd be talking about an advertisement blitz of $150 million easily. So you'd be ballooning this thing up to around $600 million before you broke even off of that. Now, with the amount of money that's going in, you're probably talking about a movie that's going to have a breaking point of minimal $750, maybe even more. You know, they've lied about some of the costs for movies like The Flash. You know, we found out all the studios have been doing that recently. You saw the lies about Indiana Jones. You see the lies about that again. It's crazy because this movie, it's not just looking like it's going to engage in flop. This has the potential to just fall apart and be an absolute trash fire, especially if it is a confused, muddled picture. If it has that problem, see, you never know. The thing that you have to have success with, unless you can nostalgia bait people. One of the things, let's take a new example of a movie. Actually, there's 2 movies right now that have been doing well. You have the Barbie movie. I saw that. I'm not the key demographic to that movie. Oh, that movie, I would have rather drink lead. I mean, seriously, it's not a movie for me. Usually I can sit through anything. I just found that to be, but it has made a lot of money because that is a movie that taps into there are a lot of female customers, a lot of them. If you can get them excited about nostalgia, especially, and they tapped right into that. It worked out very, very well. I mean, again, they made bank, and their budget wasn't some out of control budget for what they're making. They will definitely, as I said this before when people talked about that movie, I expected it to make a lot of money. The way they took advertisement and everything else, they took it very seriously. They went for an all or nothing approach. If they're gonna break the bank, they're gonna break it big. And it worked out. It worked out very, very well for them. The other movie that is out there, Oppenheimer. Now it's fascinating to see how the tale of 2 movies. Oppenheimer has been attacked repeatedly in the media. It has been attacked for everything from, first of all, I mean, we're talking about a real story here, and it was attacked for its insensitivity for what happened with Japan and the bombs. I was like, you've got to be kidding me. It's a real story, I mean, you're talking about something real here. It was attacked for the age gap between the 2 main, the actor, actress, even though, I mean, we're talking about an actual age gap between the real people that are reflected there. I always find that fascinating too when you try to talk a female out of a job. They're like, oh man, how dare they have that? It was like, well, they're calling for her job. That's kind of strange. And they talked about a lack of diversity, and again, it was reflective of a true story. It's not like you could recast the people that were involved. It was, but despite that, it has still made quite a bit of money. And I mean, you're talking about a movie. This is a movie too. Warner Brothers went out of their way to intentionally destroy that movie too. And I'll tell you why. So, not a lot of people, I haven't seen a lot of coverage on this, but Warner Brothers, they didn't expect the response where both movies would work. In fact, they went after Christopher Nolan because Christopher Nolan, during the beer bug, you remember when HBO Max decided they were going to put all of their movies on HBO? They were basically going to screw over everyone. This was under the prior regime, but still, they decided they were going to screw over the Actors Guild, Directors Guild, and everybody in Hollywood was speaking out. Well, when that happened, Christopher Nolan was very loud about it. In fact, he had always been faithful to Warner, but he was mad about the way, first of all, his movie Tenet, the way that was treated. They sabotaged his movie. I firmly believe that, by the way. I believe that the way that they handled it, it was at best mismanagement, but at worst, it was them trying to figure out how they could make money for themselves. Dual broadcasting or anything else, get it out of its theatrical run quickly. Because again, in the height of the beer bug, they were desperate to try to bring in their own, and they were losing billions at the time. So Christopher Nolan was very vocal about this stuff. Very vocal. He trashed Warner Brothers from it, and he was so mad about it that I'm going to say respect, because I was looking for the right word, but he's always respected Warner Brothers, and he had given them his projects repeatedly. He'd always worked with them. Well, he walked away. And Warner, I think they tried to destroy his movie for it because this would be his debut. And Warner, all of these these places, whether they're Universal or Disney or Warner, they want to make it look like they're the ones that are responsible for the success of very gifted and talented people. Hey, The Dark Knight brought to you by, they want it to. They figure you're either with us or we'll destroy you. And Nolan, like I said, they launched something that he was vocal about it as well. I mean, we're talking about a movie that is a different type of movie. Sure. It also, when we're discussing everything from rating and beyond, the two movies, they couldn't be they couldn't be similar, but when you launch them together, that was them again. They tried their best to destroy it. And despite trying to do it, both movies have ended up succeeding. That kind of surprised me. I thought that Oppenheimer might be hurt by the type of movie it was. If it wasn't Christopher Nolan, a name, I mean, you didn't have such well recognized folks, and he was very vocal about the type of shooting process that he had. He went out and he used practical effects. He wanted to make sure that you weren't. He's always had very CGI heavy movies in the past. He wanted to do something different, and that discussion about that intrigued people. The process. Again, he creates good films. I love that film, The Prestige. If you've never seen that movie, I love that movie. I think that movie is, it's one of his highest rated movies, but I mean, I love that movie. Again, he's had some great movies over time. Man, his Batman work with Heath Ledger was so good. But the Prestige is just an amazing movie. That if you've never seen it, I don't want to ruin that movie for you. You go, you pick it up. It's good from beginning to the end. It's like, wow, that's the kind of movie that you can sit down and talk about the ending with. I always liked something, like that. There were a lot of magician-oriented movies at the time, The Illusionist, and all of them were different, similarities and yet differences. But The Prestige was such a good movie. I like that movie. I like to sit down and watch that movie. I mean, it's dark. It is a dark movie, but the ending, I actually did not expect the ending that it brought. That was a very dark movie, and I like movies with twists like that. But anyway, I think that gives you an insight into how Warner Brothers actually is as well. Because for all the talk about new regime and this and that, like I said, I think they went out of their way to hamstring Nolan. And they're lucky that the Barbie movie, again, it is nostalgia bait. There's nothing wrong with that, by the way. There are plenty of movies out there that I enjoy that play, like look at a Transformer movie, for example. I mean, that's nostalgia bait for a person like myself. And there's not a lot of nostalgia bait for females that actually resonates with that audience. Again, I was part of a Flashcast discussion about the movie. And when people were asking, what my opinion was, I can tell I'm not the demographic for that movie. Having said that, I found it to be horrible. Because it was maybe its mindset on what you were told would be the type of movie, the thing they advertised over and over again. It wasn't the same type of movie there. Now, the actors in it were actually very good. Margot Robbie is always good in stuff. Like I've been critical about Disney and I've been critical about some stuff around Margot Robbie, but now and then, I mean, you had You'd have some funny moments here and there, but it's a long movie. It was hard for me to sit through. It was hard. I didn't say I paid to see that, by the way, but I did see it, and I blame Yellow Flash, by the way. See, this is the evil of Yellow Flash. I'm gonna expose him real quick. Yellow Flash, I hope you hear this. See, first Yellow Flash is like, hey, all that stuff we've heard about Indiana Jones 5. It'll be fun. Let's watch it. Watch it. And I'm like, oh my God, that just murdered my childhood. He's like, yeah. Oh, you monster. And then, like a couple of weeks later, he's like, it'd be good. We should all watch the Barbie movie. I'm like, no. Yeah, for Yellow, for this, it'll be good for us to go over it and discuss. I was like, no, God, no. The evils of Yellow Flash. What a monster. Yep, Flash made Tug watch Barbie. Indeed. It's part of Flash cast. I haven't caught a lot of usually I would give Flash like some I mean we goof off. Like we would find for early Flash casts, if you watch them, we would watch movies or rather we would read like comics, different ones that were awful. They'd be awful. Modern comics, like just unbearable. They would be loaded with political rhetoric, the just overt identity politics. So there's a difference, by the way. If you want to make something representative, there's a way to do that. You can do it very well. Manga does that very well. I enjoy it. I used to enjoy all comics, but now manga more than anything. But they do true representation. But modern comics, they shoehorn. You see reflections. It's not in a funny way. Like for myself, I do comics with my daughter. So if you have a self-insert, it's for you'll have a detective and a little sidekick. But for my daughter, that's me and dad, and that's cool. I like that. But what you don't have a positive self-insert. A lot of times you have the worst characteristics. I can't speak. With some of the worst people out there, and they'll shoehorn in anything, and it has nothing to do. Again, like they decided to remake one of the big Marvel villains not too long ago. And when they did, they made a huge orange man. Instead of having this, he's a villain that you could find them. I like a villain that you can understand, like a Magneto, for example, a villain that you look at them and you understand them. Magneto, he's been through the worst of the worst. He saw one of the world's most oppressive regimes come in. They ended his family. They tried to end him. And when he's looking at what's going on, with gifted people, he sees registration and more. He sees that as a return to what was done to him and his family. You look at a story like that and you can understand it, empathize. The Joker, like a Heath Ledger Joker, if you look at that on film, that is the perfect representation of a villain. He's a monster. The Joker is an absolute monster, but if he's done right, he's engaging beyond anything. Well, they took all of those characteristics and instead they put in what they considered monstrous. They put in a giant representation of American politics in a floating orange man. So they threw away everything that made the characters interesting. And we used to go in and, he'd be like, read this. And they're like, oh my God. But now it's become movies. Hey, why don't you watch this copy? No, Barbie. So anyway, I think tomorrow we will have another story from Byline News. They were talking about how they would have another. Let me take this off the screen. They would have another piece of the Dan Wooten puzzle out there. I'm curious if they will actually cover the allegations again about, as somebody said, PDF files, playground enthusiasts, or if they don't have their journalistic ducks in a row. It's going to be interesting to see how this plays out too, and you know, the double standards. So I was talking about this today as well, and I find this to be disconcerting. You know, when you see allegations, there are all kinds of double standards that pop up in allegations. For example, I mean, if you look at allegations against Dan Wooten right now, you don't have the coverage with it. Well, when you look at, there was a YouTuber that was recently accused, and you know how the pile-on always happens there. Well, this particular, if you look at this headline, this is from Vanity Fair, one of the places that, again, they've loved canceling people, but their coverage between an accused male versus accused females always so different. I mean, here they talked about the Colleen Ballinger's downfall is the product of a particular era in YouTube stardom, where a digital persona is able to cultivate a feverish fandom that's been trained to reverse course with the first spilling of tea. Now, I could agree with some of that, depending on the person. I've seen people's lives destroyed over absolutely nothing, because it's not a new phenomenon. That's why we have Where Are They Nows, you know, back with VH1 and more. People love to watch the falling of stars. But the coverage there between a Bollinger and, say, a Jonah Hill, it was night and day. Because they have this double standard. They continue, when a female is accused of something, they still treat them like a victim. Not every case, but many cases out there. While any male that is accused is automatically guilty. They're automatically, and it's a crazy double standard, considering they almost afford due process to females that are accused, which they should, by the way. They don't always, but they do. It's not really the affording of due process either. They go in and they decide automatically. They do the thing that they accuse everyone else of, saying this person is not guilty. So, like I said, they almost afford due process. You should take the stance of innocent until proven guilty. You know, and again, you may see stuff. I sometimes will communicate with other people and see some of the information. I've been trying to find more on the Dan Wooten allegations to see. Again, I've heard about accompanying items here and there, but I'd like to see them. I'd like to see the metadata behind screenshots that were included in some of the Byline news, for example. I'd like to actually see proof that is a real screenshot. And again, you have to make the connection between a Dan Wooten and this name, where, you know, they are establishing Martin Branning is Dan Wooten. And you're gonna have to make a concrete connection with that. What's up, Ray? Thanks for the 20. Ray. Hey, Tug, the ladies are out at the shop, so I have a minute for myself. Sorry I'm late to the stream. Vacation is going nicely. I'm glad there, man. Also, we're 100% done with the plugin. That's great, man. All installed, ready and waiting. That's awesome, man. I hope Ray, by the way, sending love to Ray. He's been on vacation. You know, that's pretty nice there. I don't know. When I look at this, when I look at statements about it, you know, that Lady C was actually trending, and we talked about her the other day, and she brought up there are a lot of people that would want to cancel Dan Wooten. I agree with that. I absolutely agree with that. And you know what she was saying, about your own standards on something is 100% true too. You should look at something and say something is innocent until proven guilty. My difference in my disagreement with statements, and again, this is said with all the respect in the world, is making people play by their own standards. She said, Dan Wooten behind the scenes, he was misled by Amber Heard. He was duped. And that would work if it didn't happen again and again with other people. The way, again, it wasn't just the reporting of accusations when it's trying to train wreck someone's life. But yes, I very much believe that this political divide, people will do the nastiest stuff possible. So I'm curious where it will land. We have somebody that is at the upper echelon of journalism in the UK. Whether or not I don't respect the type of coverage I see oftentimes, but as far as listen to, we are talking about, a top 5 person in Dan Wooten. There are a lot of people that have been engaging, and there would be a lot of people that would want to take that down. Now, there have been discussions about, I've also seen what they call themselves, the Sussex Squad, those folks that 100% back Meghan Markle with anything. I've seen them do some awful stuff. But the thing is, I can't differentiate between what they do oftentimes and what a Dan Wooten does oftentimes. It's a lesson, though. Like, sooner or later, people have to make up people play by their own standards, though. Because if they can just suddenly, they can go in and cancel anyone with impunity. Then a few years later, after they've just rolled that cancellation train out again and again, they end up getting accused. Then they switch to, well, no, it takes evidence. And you folks, you need to defend me. What the? No. That's how the landscape will never change that way. The landscape changes when you see people forced to play by their own rules. Then they understand it. They truly understand the poison of what they have introduced to the social system, because they're out there now denouncing, oh, this is a social media gone awry or gone amok. Yes, it is. How did they get that play? Oh, well, I remember saying, for years, and other people have said too, that the very thing that these people are introducing, they will one day reap the whirlwind of it. And they should. They 100% should. But, people confuse your standards versus the standards that they introduced and they should have to play by. I don't think any of them truly believe a lot of the standards when talking about, like a Dan Wooten or something. But they purport to have that standard until it's inconvenient. And then they say that they believe something else. And like I said, we're just supposed to conveniently forget that they destroy lives. And they would have destroyed you too. Like, the biggest problem that I have with this kind of stuff isn't, again, they don't just take aim at celebrity. They take aim at anyone that said, man, there should be evidence presented. Now, though, now it's different somehow. And it's not. It hasn't changed at all. The only thing that changed is, over the years, the thing that people have been saying again and again about accusations. And again, mate, they could be true. You never know. But if they aren't, if they end up not being real, what makes this person and their innocence any different from the people that they've train wrecked along the way? Like, it didn't matter if they were innocent. Again, the son, and they not only introduced a mindset socially about canceling people via accusation. They introduced a mindset into places like the Sun. Now, the Sun, I'm not saying they were above it before, but when like Dan Wooten, the power positions that he had, he got to sculpt who was there. And a lot of the people that remain are would have been acolytes of Dan Wooten, people that survived that regime. They have this mindset that has been ingrained, where in this culture of cancellation, that's a norm for them. And again, after a while, after they've canceled enough folks, you have to say, where do you draw the line? And this is one of those places where, again, the object lesson, when they get a story wrong too, what the saddest part is, there's a lot of questions about, again, that Hugh Edwards reporting, how they went in and how they actually verified a story. What process do they have? Well, they've never had to have a process before. So why would people think that they had one? And those are questions that they've needed to be presented for years. And there's these oversight. What's crazy about it is you have oversight commissions that give a crap when a quote unquote journalist, they end up being accused, but they haven't given a crap when it's not just celebrities, but it's everyday ordinary people when they're accused of something heinous. Where were these places? Why weren't they stepping in and asking these questions then? Like, where's your process? How do you verify something's real or not? And not only that, but the way that a story is again written. They say the difference between a me and a them is that they have journalistic integrity. They're supposed to be non-biased. Well, how does it reflect in calling for J.K. Rowling, for example, to ice somebody's career because of allegations? Where are those journalistic standards? I kind of missed out on those. Or where's the standard in calling just random people online cultists and more because they ask for an evidence-based approach instead of a listen and believe approach? When we hear that people like Dan Wooten, they are the anti-woke, as I've said many times. If you're going to say that, then you need to live that. But anyway, I think this has been a good live stream. If you want tongue club commentary, Harkles, the royal grift is amazing. Well, I've been curious. See, I don't understand. Like here's my problem about commentary on royals or any of that stuff. I don't understand it. I don't get it. Like some of the stuff, I actually agree with certain things that came up. Like people got tired of hearing the entirety, the stuff about Markle, the print. They just got tired of hearing it. Don't pay attention to us, don't talk about us, but they talked a lot about themselves. When South Park was going out and making fun of it, they were showcasing the same mindset many people had. But as far as that coverage, I like, again, in the US, it doesn't, I understand celebrity culture. I understand that. But as far as royals, I don't get that mindset because we have nothing comparable to that. We have, again, people like to worship at the altar of celebrity, but that's not what that is. It's an institution, the mindset that is ingrained, especially in like the U.S. South, is rebellion against authority, institutional authority. I mean, it's a mindset that is ingrained out here, especially in the deeper South. I mean, when you grow up in a place where you see the media call a place where I live, they call us flyover states. Why? Because we don't matter. Your food comes from here. many of the amenities, like you pass a tree in New York or something that's been planted on a sidewalk, there's a good chance it may have came from here, like where I'm at, but these places, they don't matter. They're small. The poverty levels are extreme in areas, that are surrounding it, and they've never mattered. So, when you have institutions that come in and they make promises, they always fail. They manipulate, and people, they distrust them. They distrust them, utterly, and with good reason. So, I guess I've never understood the royal family thing. It would be like me commenting on an alien culture. I do find some of it interesting, though. There are some very good commenters on it too, and it's nasty as well. You talk about through watching Chris Boozy, I got to see how I don't want to say pro Meghan Markle folks. That's kind of misleading. There are a lot of decent people that they have opinions that are pro Meghan Markle, but I saw some of the worst in their quote unquote Sussex squad. I saw some of what they did. I saw some of their messaging and stuff. Oh yeah, when I started looking at some Chris Boozy stuff, I saw some crazy shit. And these are people that were more than willing to dox, to take aim at people's lives, livelihoods. I mean, it was just insanity. And what's really bad about that, the chaos to it is actually kind of attractive somewhat. I like chaos. I enjoy it. And these days, like, I don't give a shit anymore. Like, I don't know if I cared too much before, but after everyone has tried, pretty much anything from major mainstream hit pieces to family threats to anything like that, after a while it's just like, who cares? The chaos is beautiful. So that is appealing. I just don't understand it. But anyway, all right. General Tuggenot, did you get the PayPal? I sent the other. I did. Thank you too. Yes, let me make sure. No, I should. I'm glad you mentioned that, because I forget sometimes to check, and in the stream I need to do that. Oh, let me play one other thing. Let me show you one other thing real fast, because my daughter did something like really cute. I want to show it off. So she decided that she would make a comic book. She did a little comic book. I'm going to show it off. It's cute. It's a good place to end today. This is this shows you too. Like when I do the little Umbrella Girl stuff, this shows you like the connection with their characters. So this is her Little Umbrella Girl's Ice Cream Day. This is her comic book she made. Check this out.
Comic book is Little Umbrella Girl's Ice Cream Day.
By Little Umbrella Girl, right?
Yeah. Dad, get ice cream later. 1 day later. Dad, look, later. 2 days later. Great, I'm sick.
Oh no.
1 day later, in the car.
This is in the car, by the way. She told me these little bubbles here.
No.
This little bubble, this is supposed to be like me driving and I'm in traffic and I said something like I said a bad word, and then the other one that she has there, the other bubble is her trying to say a bad word, and this is me saying, no, you can't say that. And she's like, okay. And she said the dialogue. That's why it's all scratched out, little bubbles.
Okay.
Don't say those censored words. Is that what that is? Okay.
At the movie theater, watching a horror movie.
Oh, I see it. Horror movie, man. All right.
At a shop, and you're like, okay, you can get that axolotl flesh.
Oh, that's cute. Oh, it's falling.
Ah!
It's falling.
No!
Here we go. Okay, keep going.
We're at the pet shop getting my new tarantula. By the way, I have a tarantula.
Okay.
We're going to a non-existent ice cream shop called Ice Bay.
Ice Bay. Okay. Ice Bay. Look at all the people lined up, man. Oh,
And then I get a big ice cream, but one of the scoops fell off.
oh man. The end, right? So that's Little Umbrella Girl's ice cream day. Well, I thought that was funny though. She loves her rings like her dad. Yeah, her grandma. So when she got old enough, I got it. I have a lot of rings, and I thought, I'll give her something just from me, for a birthday present. Like, we get her a family thing, but I got her a ring, and then I got her another one, and then one was from her grandma. So yeah, her rings, she likes them there. But yeah, I thought that was very cute. She makes those every now and then, but she gives them to me. She makes them for me. Is she wearing her Mr. Depp chunky rings? Actually, see, I wear a lot of rings. I wear about, well, let's see, my left hand, I have 2, 4. I don't have them on. I'm just counting them in my head. 5, 6. I have at least, usually I wear 6 rings on my left hand. And depending on my mood, sometimes from my right hand, I may just wear and I'll have a ring on every finger but the thumb. I don't like wearing a thumb ring. And I carry a firearm too. As many crazy people, so people are like, oh my God, I hate that. Well, first of all, the culture around here is a hunting culture, but also we don't have a very good police response time. Sometimes, depending on what's going on. And yeah, with safety, very much so. So I make sure I keep a light on my thumb and on my trigger finger. But on the other hand, I wear, it just depends on the day, 2 to 3, 4, 5, maybe 6, 2 to 6, depending on the day. Yeah, I like having rings too. But yeah, she likes making comments, and that's one of the most rewarding things about the creation of any type of creative endeavor. You can see, that enthusiasm. And I like keeping them too. She was like, "Oh, I'd send that to one of." She says, to my fans. She tells me that the channel actually, you folks you're not my fans, you're her fans. She made this channel. She cracks me up with that. She's like, yeah, they may like you, but you know what? They come back from me. I was like, you little punk. Oh, it's hilarious. But anyway, all right. Well, I'm going to end here. I think it's been a good live stream. I've had fun. Tomorrow, I've got a video topic that I want to hit. It's pretty good, but there should be, like I said, there's a criminality aspect that tomorrow's video should pop up around noon 15. Make sure you definitely check that one out and spread it, because it's not just a random commentary. It'll either be tomorrow. It depends on how much time I have. There's two stories I want to cover. One is a Disney story, totally unrelated to that, about something that happened that I think is kind of funny. And then there's that criminality aspect. I really do want to cover that one. So we'll see which one has time. But anyway, I'm going to call it a day here. I appreciate you folks, and I'll see you next time.